Edwards on the drive, goes inside the turn him over again. Booker scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
Yes, that's right. That's right. We are back. NBA Hardwood show Friday. Only 2 men on it. We normally have either 4 or 3. It's a little intimate booth, just me and Big T bringing you the winners today. No, Big T was not trying to figure out what hat to put on. I will take the blame for being late. Big T was in here before me, and I had to get stuff set up, and I've been running around today, so it's on me. I'll take the fall for the day. But Big T, how are things going with you?
I appreciate that, and that's good leadership because usually I'm on here with Johnny, and he never takes responsibility for his own actions. Sure, sometimes it is me. I'll admit it. Sometimes I'm in the wrong room, like I go to the Thursday show when it's Friday, and like just the wrong day. I've been known to do that. That's when it's my fault for sure. That's once a week. But then other times it's not me, and Johnny never takes responsibility. So it's good to have actual leadership on here with me for once. Feels good. We're off to a good start. And we got Friday Night Hoops and then another weekend of March Madness coming. I sent the tweet earlier. Nobody better than Steve Boynton. I can't wait. Conference tournaments already cracking up. Next weekend, big conference tournaments. The weekend after, March Madness. Lots of fun coming at Run Pure. And then we got a big MMA card tomorrow. We got tennis going. We got NASCAR coming this weekend. We got freaking everything. So great time to join Run Pure Sports. And let's pick some winners this weekend.
Yeah, it's a big MMA card too tomorrow. It should be a fun one. I know there's two really good fights I noticed. I was like, okay, these are 2 I could get behind. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll get in there. We'll have the content up for you over at Run Pure. But we got NBA tonight, and of course March Madness right around the corner, which will be an exciting time. And I actually I don't know if I love all the value that we have at this time of year, but I do love the style of slate, I'll say. I love that we got a lot of the early games, then we got 3 late games, so it'll definitely be an interesting one. BG, I'll let Big T answer. Does Big T want a massive injury?
Oh, God.
On an
this time of year, we'll be here till Sunday if he starts reading all the injury report.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
We won't make it before the MMA card starts tomorrow night.
Yeah, the injuries are piling up these days, so and it's hard to predict what is going to happen. We did also get
a freaking playoff star. Like, what's the actual NBA playoffs?
I actually know this. I want you to guess. Like, what date in April do you think it is?
God, I mean, just full guess.
Yeah,
I'd have to guess. What are we? We're early March. I mean, it's got to be early April.
No, it's like
late April.
It's like more mid-April, like to like the like mid-late. Like, so for instance, when I looked it up last time.
Oh God, I just looked it up as you were talking. April 19th.
Yeah, like, so is that's the last day of the regular season, right?
It says playoffs begin, so I'm assuming that's when the play-in tournament is the 15th to the 18th. So basically the playoffs start the 15th.
So it's basically mid-April, which is ugly.
Yeah, mid-April. So we're over a month out still of
yeah, you're 5 weeks. There's 5 more weeks of this, right? And it gets worse and worse as it goes on. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. For sure. Bobby misses the press conference updates. The old press conferences we're going. Actually, Big T, before we dive in,
did you see stuff, isn't that? That's playoffs where we got to study the.
Yeah, the press conferences are definitely more playoffs. I will agree. No, Big T, did you see Rubio's outfit yesterday?
Just from your tweet, like I mean, what was that? That's just normal Rubio though. Like that. I mean, how he has a lady, I'll never understand. Maybe it's the picnic. Maybe he just likes muff diving. I think there's a decent chance he likes muff diving. But how he has a lady, it's got to be the muff diving. I mean, it has to be that.
I'll tell you this. I didn't comment on the jacket I didn't say it in the pre-room. I didn't say it on the show, Tony. I kept it hush because I didn't want to hurt Gregory's feelings. And not only that,
he loves that stuff. If you made fun of him, he'll feel better about it.
He also had the soccer shirt underneath it. That was the worst part. Like, he had a soccer shirt. Like it was horrible, but
I was at Barleycorns last week after one of the games or something, and his lady pulled up. I thought about it, getting some inquiries out there. There was a full group. Gregory was not there. He was home grinding for the people, the Rub Pure people. But I saw his lady out and about. I was going to ask how in the world he got the job done.
you should have. That would have been good content.
What if I just went up and asked her that? She wouldn't have known how to respond.
Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, you got to start with, I love Greg. He's great, works hard and everything. But the fast food and the bad clothing,
I mean, terrible food. Like a lot of people eat bad. He eats the worst. And his clothing is definitely the worst.
Rubio offered me Burger King on the yesterday's show. He said, I'll buy you Burger King if you get this right, man. Go. And I said, I don't even want your Burger King. Like, that sounds terrible. So, yeah, that's our guy, Rubio Dimes for you. But yeah, we do have a lot of games today. Also, another surprise, Tony. Like DK, they left off they kept the 3 games on instead of just doing a quick 5-game slate on a Friday night. Do you think that's the right move? Obviously, 8 games is better than.
I don't think that's the right move. We always talk about this. I hate it, and 5 games is plenty for an NBA slate. It's even crazier on a Friday night. And I know I just feel like I'm always whining about this, but. Like, for you to properly play this late, and you got guys, I think Jokic plays, but he's questionable. You got big-time news late. It's just insane that, I mean, you shouldn't have to sit in your computer from 7 to 11 tonight, 10:30, 7 to 10:30, 3.5 hours. And, of course, before that, because you're building teams, you should not have to sit there and build for 4 or 5 hours watching news. And none of it, the part I really hate about NBA DFS these days is it's not based on like actual strategy like it used to be. It's just when someone gets rolled out, you all rerun the numbers, everyone does it, and you just keep rerunning. It's never about like, oh, this guy's matchup is great, because that could be the case going in, but then all of a sudden, whatever, Karl Anthony Towns gets ruled out, and then all the value for there pops in, and it was just an example. I'm not saying Cat's going to sit, but once one guy gets rolled out, it's just dominoes, and I just freaking hated it. At least if it's a 5-gamer and you only got to be on, like that's I don't mind that. You sit there from 6:30 to 8:30, that's fine. But when you got to sit there all freaking night, I don't get it.
Yeah, be careful, Tony. DK partner over here. I will say
I'll tell them the same thing. I mean, I still like the product. Doesn't mean I don't like the product, but man.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a tough one to decide. I like the late stuff. I get it though. I'm ready for playoffs. I'll say that, Tony. Like playoffs.
The playoffs is just so nice because you know who's going to play for the most part. Obviously, there's some stuff that you don't know, and you can make adjustments game by game. All this team's going to adjust to big or small or all the different stuff. Like that's more up my alley for sure.
Yeah, I am with you on that. We got a large slate. We could dive right into it unless you got anything else to mention, Tony.
That's it.
All right. Cleveland and Charlotte will be the first game we discuss on this slate. Of course, we got to talk about, obviously, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't know if you saw Charles Barkley. He said, we need to give the Cleveland Cavaliers their flowers. He's sick and tired of talking about the Lakers and the Warriors. But, yeah, they've been great this year. Problem is, this is one of those really tough spots to kind of navigate and figure out. It's a 15-point spread. And obviously we worry about blowouts, right? That's going to be a concern because we know Cleveland can absolutely dominate and just you don't get the fourth quarter run for your studs. Could they be the reason why they blow them out? Sure, but I can't promise you that. You know what I mean? So this is going to be obviously a tough spot to figure out for me. LaMelo Ball's in, Josh Green, Yusuf Nurkic, and Nick Smith Jr. Mark Williams is out, though, so that is going to be a boost for Nurkic at 3.7K. And Tony, he is coming in at 42% ownership with our partners over at SaberSim. After that, Mobley and Ball, they're around 18 and 17%. I'll tell you this, I'm not playing LaMelo Ball at 17% ownership. There's better studs on this slate to get to. I think he's a guy you want to be well underweight on. And overall, I think it's mainly liking Yusuf Nurkic and then move on for me. 3.7K, I believe you're going to like Nurkic a ton here as well. Hard to avoid in the first game, but what is your thoughts on Nurkic, Tony, and the rest of this game?
Yeah, you're going to have a ton of value these days. And Nurkic, I mean, 3,700. I mean, you're going to have somewhere around a 30 projection with him assuming being in the starting lineup. But you also got Diabate, who's 3,300. You got to think he's going to get pretty big run too. He's got a good projection. Not as good as Nurkic, but I still wouldn't be like totally shocked if they just still bring Nurkic like off the bench. You just don't know. Luckily, it's an early game, but either one of those guys, who they could both start, I guess, right? I mean, or no, because Cleveland sometimes plays a big lineup, but with Mobley and Allen, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they like started a bigger lineup. But either way, we're gonna have the lineup before it goes. I'm not playing LaMelo, no chance. Miles Bridges, I think, is always at least in play for tournaments just because he's always low owned, and he does have upside in a spot like this. But I'm not like jumping out of the way to play him or anything. But Miles Bridges in play, but definitely the two plays for me are Nurkic and Diabate. 3,700, 3,300. I actually think I like Diabate more just because of the ownership. And I still think, I mean, they're not going to go crazy with Nurkic minutes, I don't think. Diabate lower owned and similar upside, I would say. Nurkic is definitely like a better play, especially if he starts. But I could even use both of them, and I like that. Cleveland, though, I mean, they're a wagon right now, and I have to think they just handled this Charlotte team, which means I'm not going to play anyone from Cleveland unless somehow someone got ruled out or something.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're an MME guy, like, would I say you can't play Evan Mobley? No. Like, you could easily play him. If he gets 55, sure, it's fine.
He's so hard to click. He's like a good player, but man, he's hard to click at 8K.
I know. I will say, though, like, I've seen this already this year, like, twice. And he's like, he'll get like 40 points in one half and then like end up like limping his way there, like in the third quarter to get like 55. Like, if you're an MME guy, like, it's not like I'm Xing these guys, but these are not priority plays, right? If I'm playing single entry, if I'm playing 3-max, I am not prioritizing him at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's more just last guy in, it kind of happens, and you have a little percentage of it, but he's coming in at 18% owned. I want to be well underweight on the field on this entire game. The only guy I'm really interested in is Yusuf Nurkic, and I'll tell you this, as the slate adjusts and as we get news, I can see myself being lower on this game in general and even being lower on Nurkic based on some of the news. We did get news that Jalen Brunson was ruled out. I believe I saw that.
He's going to be out for a while.
Oh, did he get like a bad injury the other night?
I mean, he was hobbling to the locker room at the end of that game. It was his ankle, and I think he'll be out at least a few weeks.
Gotcha. Yeah, I believe that I saw that when I was like getting ready to get on the show and everything. I was running around, but
I mean, they had him like listed as questionable for a while, but like he's got. I mean, I didn't even like look at like he's going to be out. He was hobbled.
Well, ownership definitely hasn't adjusted for all that because like campaign is only. Now it's 10%. So, yeah, the stuff moved definitely just now. But anyways, I don't know.
We have so many 3K guys is going to be the issue. I mean, there is, which also just makes Jokic where, again, these studs, it's hard not to. There's so many 3K guys that could get you 30+ tonight.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying I don't know if Nurkic ends up being 42%, but he'll be owned, right? Like
too many 3K guys.
Yeah.
I think he'll end up closer to like 20%, honestly.
Also, another good thing to point out, Tony, this game starts at 7, and it's the only game that starts at 7, right? Like, and maybe that's not going to change our opinion. Maybe we'll have all this news on like the 7:30 game, the 8 o'clock game. Like, it might not totally change our opinion on stuff. We might have all of the news, but if you're waiting on some piece of news and you need 30 more minutes, it doesn't hurt to backload just for 30 minutes and then let the slate start at 7:30. Or, I don't know, let's say you're grabbing an early dinner with the lady. You know what I mean? Have your slate start at 7:30, and go out a little bit earlier if that's your case.
And it sounds crazy, like to just say Nurkic or Diabate is in this, or both are in the lineup. It sounds crazy to like not play the 3K guy that's starting in that spot. But I promise you, there is so many 3K guys on the slate that you can easily fade it. And they're good plays. I think they're both very good plays. But there's going to be more very good plays, which is what makes it tough this time of year.
Yeah, 1,000%. There's so many good plays that you can get to. Like I'm trying to look at yesterday if there were any crazy good plays or something that might have missed. Like for instance, like dude, Kobe White dropped 59 DK points last night. Like no one expected that. You know what I mean? Like crazy stuff happens right now this time of year. You obviously can play some of the good plays and then mix and match some of these other options that might gain some value based on injury news. Tony, let's get to Memphis and Dallas. And if you've been, on Twitter, I know our guy Bobby's been talking about it on Twitter. Ja Morant, still don't have – people are assuming he's going to sit, even though he's not on the injury report because he's been complaining about his shoulder. But he was at shoot-around. That's a surprise piece of news that we could see. We have been missing Jaren Jackson Jr. Obviously, the Jaren Jackson Jr. stuff, that's a big deal. So it's going to help Ja. It's going to help Desmond Bane. Caleb Martin looks like he's going to be back for Dallas. I know Santi Aldama is questionable, Conchar and Dante Exum questionable. I will say if a Dante Exum plays along with the Caleb Martin, that kind of muddies up Dallas a little bit, right? They had 8 guys. I count right now 2, 4, 6, 8. I think I count 9 guys right now. I think that was 9 guys. So I count 9 with projections right now over here at Run Pure. Everyone else is out, including Kai Jones, Oliver Maxence Prosper. He's definitely someone that played the last time, and now Caleb's basically replacing him. You're going to have to like some of these guys, Tony. In a week or two, we might not like these guys because the prices might get too high, but some of the prices are still good, right? Klay Thompson, 5.5K. He definitely has upside in this spot. He's 31% owned. Najee Marshall, 6K. We know he's going to play a pile of minutes. He's got a good projection. 16% ownership as well. Of course, Max Christie at 5.4K. Dante Exum, 4.7. I could see him starting to be an interesting play. I know Spencer Dinwiddie was chalked the other day. He's now gotten the price hike to 5.9K. So how do you handle the Dallas Mavericks on this slate, Tony? And, of course, what are you doing with the Memphis Grizzlies that are in a matchup against the G League team?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough in there. Klay looks like insanely dusty. I mean, I knew he was dusty coming into the year. He just shot the ball 27 times the other night and still only had 44, which obviously is big for his price point at 5,500. But I'm just talking straight basketball wise. Man, he looks bad. Like he looks real bad. But his price is cheap. The weird part about them though is just the way the slate comes together. You have so many 3K guys that are huge that I just don't know if I'm going to get to this range where all these guys are in the 5 and 6Ks, which I do agree. Like, I think all of these guys have between 30 and 40 point, like, floor and ceilings type stuff. So I think they're in play. The one guy for me, though, is another 3K guy. I see BG3 in the chat. Brandon Williams played a bunch the other night. He's 3,800. And no matter what you think about Dallas with Kyrie out now, they have to be smart enough to you would think, want to play some lesser guys, call it a season, shut her down a little bit, and try to get as good of a draft pick as you can, which happens this time of year, which means playing more guys like Brandon Williams, Kessler Edwards a little bit, some Max Christie, guys like that. So I will definitely not be playing Klay or Dinwiddie. I mean, Dinwiddie at 6K. I could play Najee, though. Najee's definitely in play for me. Max Christie's 100% in play for me. And then Brandon Williams is my favorite for sure. And then the Memphis side, I mean, I didn't even – I would assume Ja's for sure good to play. And I just don't see anything on the Memphis side. Ja's playable. Bane's playable. But they got a lot of guys still, and they're all priced. I mean, they're not cheap. So I don't see myself going to any Memphis guys on this slate.
Yeah, Brandon Williams, he did get the price hike from 3K to 3.8K. But if he's going to play 34 minutes again, Tony, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to, but if the game blows out, which, like, there's a chance it definitely does. I mean, I know Dallas is at home, and even if it doesn't blow out, I still think he can get decent runs. So good call on Brandon Williams. I do think he's in play. And again, all these 3K guys, we got so many of them that we're going to talk about and discuss. Let's slide on over to Utah and Toronto. This is the last game in the 7:30 window. So 3 games in that 1 at 7, and then the 2 games at 7:30. And then, of course, the 6 o'clock spot will be next. Or not 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I'm speaking Mountain Time. But Utah and Toronto, the battle of a bunch of losers. a lot of ownership in this game, right? I'm seeing Orlando Robinson at 3.5K. If you miss out on Yusuf Nurkic, you can certainly play Orlando Robinson at 3.5K as a chalk option. Got a really good projection. Scotty Barnes, Jacoby Walter. I know he hit that game winner the other day. Toronto Raptors are in full-on tank mode right now. You got Chris Boucher. He's also doubtful in this game. Keontae George is questionable, which when Keontae George hasn't been playing, what has that done? That has opened up the door for Isaiah Collier to run the point even more. You got Walker Kessler at 6.6K. I know Johnny Juzang had a massive game the other day. I think he had like 35 or 40 DK points, so he went absolutely crazy. Starting lineups is really important for, I think, not only Utah, but I think Utah is super important and the Toronto Raptors here. You could obviously do a Scotty Barnes as a spend-up option. I know we talked on the show yesterday about forward is typically not a great position. At Scotty Barnes' price is 7.9K, and with all the injuries that they got, their lineup's not good, right? If I count the guys that they have, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, it's 9 guys. Actually, 9 guys with a projection if you don't count Chris Boucher, and he is doubtful. So of those 9 guys, Scotty Barnes is the best player far and away, and he's only 7.9K. Tony, I wonder if that's chalk you're going to eat as a spend, and what are you going to do with Orlando Robinson and all these Utah Jazz?
You just have so many cheap guys for Toronto, and honestly, 2 of the harder decisions on the whole slate for me are Scotty Barnes and Quickly, where if you think Toronto cares even at all about what's going on, which they're favored in the game, because Utah sucks too. And if they get normal run, like anywhere close to normal run, they have to be 2 of the best plays on the entire slate. But if you think they play it super tight to the vest, which they have lately, and like only play these guys low 30s minutes, they don't really crank them up, then they're 2 of the probably biggest chalk bust of the slate. Just straight projection wise, Scotty Barnes pops off the page. So I'm torn a little bit because they feel like the easiest plays ever. Because if you guaranteed me normal run, they're just way too cheap with the team they're playing with. But part of me wants to fade the 2 good guys and play a few of these cheap guys, Jamal Sheed, AJ Lawson, Walter, even Roden, the dude from Seton Hall, I think he played. These guys are just really good 3K plays where if they start playing these guys a little bit more, you could really pop off. So this is part of what you got to deal with this time of year in the NBA, because you got to make decisions based on how much you think they play. If you think Scotty and Quickly, like how have they been playing lately? Like as far as the actual team. They beat Orlando in Orlando. They almost double dip. They did double dip Orlando. I didn't realize that. So they won both games versus Orlando.
But the crazy part about the one game against Orlando is they benched a lot of their guys like late in the game to try and take home the W to take the L basically. And they didn't take the L. They actually won the game.
And it's kind of my point. Like the last 2 games, they beat Orlando, and Scotty played 29 and 30 minutes. Before that, though, he played 36, 34, 35, 38, 33. But in my head, it just makes sense that, why would you play Scotty Barnes 40 minutes right now with a month left in the year? I don't think it really makes sense. And that's one thing I think I'm good at is just deciding when teams start to do stuff like this. And I just don't, in my head, it doesn't make sense why they would rush these guys out. And Scotty Barnes is going to be, I bet he's over 50, 60% owned with this projection. His projection's huge. So
it's huge.
I just don't, again, it's a field play. It depends on what you think they do. But if you think he only plays low 30s minutes, I think it's a decent fade. And then you can play these cheaper guys. Sheed, how much minutes have these guys been getting? Let me pull up Toronto real quick. Toronto, so, Walter, Kobe hit the winner the other night, 28 minutes. Sheed, only 22 minutes for Sheed. Orlando Robinson, 24. So the problem with Toronto is just going to be there's just no minutes. Lawson played 26.
Here's the thing, Tony. So let me go through for you the Orlando game that they had Quickly, Barrett, Barnes, Podol, and Walter. All 5 of those guys were the starting lineup, right? They did not close with that lineup at all. The lineup they closed with was Jared Rhoden, AJ Lawson, Jamal Shaheed, Orlando Robinson, and Jacoby Walter. So they sat Quickly for the final 9 minutes and 43 seconds. They sat Barnes for the final 7:50. Podol sat for the final 8 minutes. I mean, RJ Barrett played probably like from 7:49 to 1:37, and then they were trying to lose so much that they brought in Jared Rhoden in a competitive game for RJ Barrett. I mean, they were blatantly trying to lose that game, but then Jacoby Walter obviously hit that game winner. But point I'm getting at, Tony, is like, I mean, I actually think these bench guys are really good plays. So,
The hard part again, though, is there's just so many 3K guys that it's gonna be challenging which 3K guys to use because there is a lot of them. But to your point, whoever the 3 guys are that start, besides Barnes and Quickly are going to start. Whether they finish is another topic. But the other 3 guys that start have to be 3 of the best plays on the slate because you're playing Utah too, and Utah sucks, obviously. So whoever those 3 are really, really good plays. But I think you can fade these guys. And Sam Bobendreyer, I agree. He did pull out the Shaheed on us. That was a strong reference.
Yeah, I did the what's his name? I was thinking of my Madden Sims, Mr. Shaheed. That's what I was thinking. But anyways,
why can't we get our boy Big O? Why can't Big O be on the slate? Sit Walker Kessler down, Utah. We want the Big O on a Friday night.
I mean, the Big O, isn't he there or no? Did they bring him back down? I guess they brought him back.
He might still be there, but he needs a few troops out before he can get in the mix.
No, that is fair. I mean, we'll have to see. But yeah, overall though, the Jazz are kind of tough to play, Tony, I think today, because if you count their guys, I mean, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I mean, we got like 11 guys with projections right now. They'll go deep enough, right? That's kind of one of the worries. And with these tanking teams, it gets difficult. I do agree with you. I think you're in a similar mind as me. You kind of think it's good to just play the Toronto starters, like those 3K guys, like the cheap ones, not the Scotty Barnes, right? The cheaper ones, because they'll probably play no matter what.
It's one reason that I think I'm better playing 1 to 3 teams in NBA than like 150, because when you play 150, you just have to you're going to have to go overweight on like some of these guys like Scotty and Quickly and different things. Whereas if I play 1 to 3, I can just take stances on my takes and kind of go with it. You can't do that. And I just can't play Barnes and Quickly when I think that they're only going to play 30 minutes. It's just, it's tough when they're charged. They can still crush in the 30, by the way. I mean, they're 2 of the best plays for a reason, but I like playing the bench guys more for sure.
Yeah. And overall, this game, I mean, you could get away with not playing it, Tony, like you said.
It's going to be tough not playing any of Toronto, I'll be honest. It's going to be one way or another.
Toronto's the tougher one, but like the Jazz, I wouldn't
like. Jazz, you can definitely not play for sure.
Yeah,
Toronto, because I mean, let's face it, either Barnes and Quickly are going to do well, or these 3K guys physically have to get there. There's not really a path where nobody gets there because they only got, like you said, 9 guys too.
Yeah, currently I see 9 project. I think it's 9. Let me count again: 2, 4, 6.
And one of them's friggin' Garrett Temple.
It's 10, and Garrett Temple's one of them. Yes, but sorry,
and Boucher's not going to play.
Boucher's doubtful, which will make
it. They basically have 8 guys.
That's fair. Although Garrett Temple can play more minutes than you'd think. I know he's terrible, but he could.
They're not going to waste run with him though. How much did he just play? He played 3 minutes the other night.
Yeah, but. CW, are you guys trolling about the Barnes and Quickly? I like the strategy if you're serious, but I feel gullible listening at the same time. No, I mean,
we said it though. Like, are we serious? Yeah, but it's still a strategy. They're still projected. Like Scotty Barnes is still projected amazingly. Like, no one's saying that he's not technically a good play, but I mean, at 7,900 when he's super, super high owned, I mean, where does he really start hurting you? 50? If he gets 45 at that ownership, he's not killing you. He's got to be in the 50s for sure to like really hurt you.
No one's going to say he's a bad play, right? You just have to make a decision. Do you think, like, what do you have his minutes projected for? If you have his minutes projected for like 36 or 38, yeah, like you should play him. For me, what I try to do here in this spot, I try not to get burned by these guys when I'm running my, So when you run your lineups with an optimizer, you're going to get a bunch of them, right? He's currently 30% owned. Emmanuel Quickly is 25. What I try to do in these spots, if I am unsure, which sometimes I don't know what's going to happen with the situation and I'm unsure of it, I go like even with the field or slightly over or under. Or sometimes if I just don't like the guy at all, I'll just take a strong stance and not play them. I won't do that here just because I understand how much it can burn me. I understand what the opportunity cost is. So I'm likely to go either slightly under the field, or I will go even with the field just so it doesn't kill me. And you know what? That can hurt, right? Like I might not get as many bullets on some other plays, but that's how I do it. Tony, you're playing 1 to 3 lineups. How do you kind of attack it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just taking stands, and I think like almost everyone watching this is playing not many. I'm sure there's some out there that will play 20 teams or 10 or something, but I guarantee there's very few that play 150. And I would just take a stand on it. If I was playing 3 teams, I'd probably play 1 with Scotty and Quickly and 2 without them. And then on the other 2, I would play 2 or 3 cheap Toronto guys and probably like mix and match them just a little bit. So I would have Toronto on all 3 of my teams if I played 3, but only 1 with Scotty and Quickly. And honestly, I'd play Scotty and Quickly together too, because I think they're pretty correlated.
Yeah.
If they play a lot, I think they'll both crush. If they don't, I think they'll both. The good part of playing them, so I talked about all the negatives. The good part of playing them, I think they're like insanely safe, but I don't want safe on this slate. There's too much value. I don't think you need safe. And on top of it, like Quickly's in the 6Ks, Barnes is kind of mid-range. With all these 3K guys, I mean, I want to go straight to the top, which is a little harder on this slate just because there's not a ton of studs. But Jokic, Harden, man, it is tough up top. That's another reason that Barnes is going to be so high owned. There's nothing up top.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, this might be the worst stud slate of the year. What if Jokic gets ruled out?
Yeah. I mean, hey, we're getting to that time of year where
then it gets really spicy.
And I'll tell you this, with no Brunson, right? Cat's going to be like just mega owned at 9.9K. I mean, he's a good play for sure. But yeah, for me, when it's a spot that's really tough to dissect, I just try to like go even with the field or one way over or under, slightly one way or the other, so it doesn't absolutely kill me. That's probably my plan tonight. I could take stands at other spots of the slate. Like last night, one of the stands I took was I thought one of or both OG or Precious would be out. And Precious ended up getting ruled out. I was well overweight on the Knicks than the field. Didn't have my best day, but that's just a stand that I took. And I look for spots to take stands and then spots not to take them. And that's just one spot where not going to take the stand as much. All right. Next game up. Let's get to Minnesota and Miami. I love playing Ant Edwards. Tony, you said there's not a lot of good studs to play, right? Well, Ant's 9.4K. He's definitely got to be in the conversation. Problem is, matchup against Miami, it's not really a super ideal one. We also have a lot of injury news in this game that we got to discuss, and news that could absolutely change the slate. Alec Burks, questionable. Tyler Hero, he's questionable. Jaime Jaquez, Andrew Wiggins, they're both questionable also. I mean, some of those guys could be ruled in, some could be ruled out, right? And that's going to just change our opinion. So it's really hard to break down what's going to happen with the Heat. We'll be in the Discord chat all night long, breaking that down for you guys, answering your questions if you're not a member. So go sign up using that code RPS15. Rudy Gobert, he is questionable. I know he's had that tag for the past couple of games or so, and he hasn't really played. If he is back, I know he's not a big offensive guy, but that is going to, add another piece back to Minnesota, who hasn't been healthy in the past couple months. And at 9.4K, Julius Randle, he's 7K. Jaden McDaniels, 6'9". Naz Reid, 7.6. If Rudy plays, that will muddy up this situation a little bit, especially in a matchup against the Miami Heat. So Minnesota is going to be a team I'm probably going to be pretty underweight on today just because of that. And even if Gobert's in, you can make the case that matchup's not great. The one guy I really like is Edwards. I think Randall's fine at 7K, but again, I'm not a big Julius Randle guy, but he can get the job done at 7K. But like I said, I do not love this matchup. And then Miami, I can't really break it down because I don't know if these guys are in and out. Bam Adebayo's 9.2K. I guess that's worth noting. And then if you want to mention some other price tags that could be interesting today, Terry Rozier at 4.9. If all these guys are rolled out, he would pop. A Davion Mitchell at 4.3 might be okay. I know Kevin Love had a big game the other day at 3.3, but Tony, I don't know how to break down the Miami Heat without any of this news.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing though is there's not a ton of value type pricing on Miami. Like they finally bumped Bam up in the 9Ks. It's nearly impossible to pay 9,200 for Bam, and guys being out don't really impact him all that much, I don't think. Hero 8,700. I mean, that is a big price tag. So I'm just looking all the way down the list. Sure, you can play Kevin Love, but he's not an upside play on a slate like this. Highsmith. I actually think no matter who plays for Miami, I think they're a pretty easy fade. I really do. There's too much value on this slate that I'm trying to picture it. Even if all four of the questionable guys were somehow out, even if that, I mean, then you're still talking about playing 5K for Terry Rozier, 4,300 for Mitchell. I still don't see it. I mean, Kyle Anderson, 3,700. Even if all of them are out, I still think they're not. There's just too many 3K guys on this slate. I honestly think it's a pretty easy fade no matter what. And if they're in, which I hope they are, just be in and just make it easy. Then I don't have to sweat it as much. But I don't think they're that good of plays. And then the Minnesota side, I agree with you. Ant has to be one of the better plays on the board. He continues to get full run too. I mean, 38.
They have to win games. They are at the 7 seed, right? They are not in the 6 or 5, 4. Like they have to get into. They don't want to be in the playing game. You know what I mean?
He's been somewhat bad. Do I dare say that? Because he owned me in the playoffs. He's been. If you compare him to other stars, I'll say it like this. If you compare him to other stars, he's been significantly worse than other stars, just numbers wise.
Well, it's tough when you're playing with Julius Randle, who hogs the ball and screw everything over. I mean, he had
he hates that trade. I mean, that trade had to make him mad. But on a slate like this, though, you have to consider Ant 100% because just looking at the top of the board, there's just not much there. But I'm just saying it. Another downside. He's in Miami on a Friday night. He likes to get after it. I'm assuming. I don't know. There's a lot of negatives to me with Ant. So I don't love this game. But again, at the top, with the way the 3K guys are and the way the studs are, you're not going to need as much ceiling at the top. Because I think these 3K guys can all get you in the 30s. So if Ant gets you like 50 tonight, I think that's pretty decent at the top, honestly. I think it could be good up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one reason like a Scotty Barnes is going to get owned so much is because like people are projecting him for like 47 DK points. So, yeah, I like these like next tier stars, right? Like there's not the Giannis's, there's not these millions and millions of studs. But I do think I think he's got to be in the conversation, but I think this is a good game to be lower on, right? If we're like ranking the game so far, like clearly this game and the Cleveland-Charlotte game are the two worst games to the Memphis, Dallas, and Utah-Toronto game. Would you agree on that one, Tony?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the easy part is too, like I said, I think Miami's the worst team on the slate. Just looking at all the teams, I think they're the worst team. They're the only team that I legit really can't make a case for. And who would you make a case for on Miami? I can't even make a case for one of them. I guess Tyler Hero, if he's in, I can make a case for.
I mean, I can make a case for the cheap guys, right? Like if it depends who's in and out. That's kind of the issue. So it's like I can easily make a case for Alec Burks at 4-1 if like he's in the starting lineup and Wiggins and Hero are ruled out. You know what I mean? Like,
are you excited to play Alec Burks on this slate though?
Not excited, but you asked if I can make a case. That's what you asked. So again, I get your point. What you're saying is, and let's say all those guys are ruled out. If every single one, the starting lineup would likely be Bam Adebayo, Davion Mitchell, Haywood Highsmith, and then they'd have to do like a Rozier and like a Duncan Robinson, right? Maybe. And maybe if it's not Duncan Robinson, it's Alec Burks. But I don't know. It's not like when you compare to the other values, I get the point you're getting at, right, Tony? You're basically saying even if all are ruled out, yes, some of these guys become better plays, but if you're playing 1 to 3 lineups, you're saying I still like these other values, especially this next game coming up.
From the Miami side, I genuinely think even if I was playing a bunch of teams, I don't like it. These other values are so much better. The Toronto values are so much freaking better. The Dallas mid-rangers are so much better.
Yeah, I mean, well, not only that, this next game too, right? Like the Portland and the OKC game. OKC is going to have a lot of value and opportunity here. A guy that's in the 4K range that you can compare against the Miami Heat options. I'll tell you this, I really like Aaron Wiggins at 4.9K. I mean, he's been great this year with these guys in. I mean, the opportunity he's going to have tonight, I mean, 4.9K, I think he is in the conversation. Another good injury thing to talk about today is Chet Holmgren. He's questionable. Let's say Chet Holmgren misses. That's going to really change some stuff up with this team. I mean, if he misses this game, I mean, who's their starting center? Then it's Jalen Williams probably at 4.3. He would be an even better play, and he's already projecting pretty decent. Great spot for Isaiah Joe at 4K. He loves to shoot the rock. He might get 20-plus shot attempts tonight, as crazy as that sounds. Alex Caruso, if he happens to be in the starting lineup, I mean, he's projected for 31 DK points right now. Like at 4.4K, these are great values. So you're going to have to like the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the matchup is amazing. It's the Portland Trailblazers. So obviously it's a great spot for them. They're still somehow favorites. Denny Avdia, 6.6K. I know he's been dealing with injuries, but if he gets the full run, I actually think he's got upside at his price. You could make the case for a 5.5K Klingon at the center position. Shadon Sharp, I know he's 6'8 now. He's been really good, obviously. He's shown some upside. But there's plays in the Portland that you can run it back on. But the Thunder, they're clearly really good plays, and that's another reason why you might not like these Miami Heat guys that we talked about. But, Tony, what are you doing with the Oklahoma City Thunder specifically and the Portland run-back options?
I mean, even before I get into the fantasy talk, like, how in the world is Portland an underdog? Like, Portland's been playing pretty good basketball.
It could be because Denny's out. It could be part of the reason.
Who?
Denny could be out, right? He's questionable.
I mean, the line isn't going to be baked into that, though. Like, even if he gets ruled out, it's not going to move. Like, yeah, for Denny. Either way, like, OKC, I think Chet sits too. I agree with Bobby in the chat. I think they both could sit. I don't understand, though. I'm betting Portland for sure because Portland plays hard, too. They might not be the best team in basketball, but they're pretty deep on talent. They play hard. And I don't understand the line. So, like, I have to bet Portland in this game. I mean, you're talking plus 125 money line. I'm in on that. 100% in on that. But fantasy-wise, I don't see hardly anything here. Oh, Portland side, I'm sorry. I definitely see some on OKC side. Portland side, nothing. They got a lot of guys. Even if Denny's out, these prices are fair. I don't see anything on the Portland side. But the OKC side, like I said, I think Chet probably sits. Even if he plays, I don't think they go crazy. Kind of just let him get some run in, keep his legs going and stuff like that. So I don't see that. But, man, these other plays. Wiggins. I think Jalen Williams is sneakily one of the best plays on the slate. When he gets run, he's good. And the matchup versus Klingon is pretty decent. He can bring Klingon outside. He can hit threes. He can drive a little bit. I think the matchup's low-key good for Jalen Williams in this spot at 4,300. His projection's good, and he's not going to get that much ownership just because of how many good plays there are, especially at center. So I like that. Kenrich Williams, Dieng, Dylan Jones, all these guys are more 3K guys that you can go to. There's just unlimited 3K guys tonight. You're just going to have to take stabs. I love these. Is this Flagler dude the guy from Baylor? I love that guy if he's the dude from Baylor.
Yeah, but you can't play him today. I mean, unless he's starting.
He's got a freaking 20 projection for 3K.
Unless he's starting. I don't know. I mean, he could start.
I mean, OKC is punting this game. Like, why can't they just play all young dudes?
Because I mean, regardless, like, so who do you think the starting lineup is? I assume it's Joe Caruso, Wiggins, one of Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren, and then maybe it's a Dieng or a Kenrich Williams. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a Dieng. I don't think it's Adam Flagler. I couldn't play one of the bench guys. Like, I don't know. I think that's a hard one.
I mean, Flagler's like a point guard though. Like they don't have a point guard. Who's their point guard?
I mean, Isaiah Joe can run the point. I guess you could make the case maybe
He's like a true shooter though. Like Flagler's a point guard.
But I could see the Thunder want to start an Isaiah Joe more at the point with a Caruso at the shooting guard to kind of
remember I told you that Flagler is an absolute hooper. Bookmark.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I'll play him in April, but I think it's a little too early for it. I get what you're saying now. I'll keep it in the back of my brain when OKC rules someone out on April 9th, and then I'll make my adjustment.
What about tonight at 7:45 when the starters come out and it says he's in there?
I'll say this, Tony. If he's in there, I will at you and I will bend the knee. I'll post like a bend the knee gif.
I'm just looking at their lineup. Like, it makes too much sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think it through because obviously if Chet Holmgren sits, it definitely brings him more in play. If he doesn't sit,
why not just rule Chet out? Like,
it makes sense to. I'm with you. It makes no sense. Chet
was Caruso. Like, Caruso's had injury issues. Like, they're gonna play these young guys.
Yeah, I mean, I
actually like OKC more than I should. Just knowing that they're favored. I think these cheap guys, like Dylan Jones, is a hooper too. How do they always draft good guys?
You can't tout Dylan Jones and Adam Flagler. I mean,
these guys are going to play. They're projected for 20 at 3K.
It's such a good slate for value.
I know, but these are good value plays. That's what I'm saying. Like, they don't have dudes.
I know you're good at this, so I don't want to shit on it completely. But it's like, I don't know. It's a tough one, I think, on this slate. But I get your point. Like, they're going to punt the game. If you could tell they're full punting the game, I totally get it.
I don't see why they wouldn't once they got those other guys out. I mean, they have the 1 seed locked up too. Like, there's just no reason to go crazy on it for them.
I think I'd be more sold if this game was in Portland, but with being in OKC, I don't know, maybe.
I think that helps it more to sit people because they feel worse sitting guys on the road.
You don't feel bad sitting guys on the road, no?
Yeah, those other fans, they I feel better at home because the home crowd can always see your dudes.
I guess. While we're here, do you want to play Brandon Carlson as well, or are we done?
No, just because that guy's a center.
Yeah, I know.
I like Jalen Williams. I like Jalen Williams a lot.
Yeah, I like
that too. You guys can all make fun of me. Now everybody making fun of me wants me to play him even more. I hate you guys. I'm playing all these OKC guys. Screw everybody.
I can't wait for Tony's score. Nikola Jokic, Adam Flagler, Dylan Jones. It's going to be all of them.
Flagler's the one I really like, though. So, like, have they had anything even close to this situation this year? Probably not.
No, they have not.
Yeah.
SGA's played it feels like every game.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely hasn't sat when Jalen sat too.
I just looked up Adam Flagler's name, and this is from February 5th, so it's a month ago. But OKC Thunder stats: Adam Flagler missed 19 straight 3-pointers in a row, but he made this one. He is up to 15.8% shooting from 3 on the season. So that was good stuff there. But I think for me, Tony, if I had to rank the Thunder, I have Aaron Wiggins number 1, Joe 2. I have Jalen Williams 3. That's probably my top 3. Do you want to give your favorite Thunder values? Kind of rank them.
Yeah, Adam Flagler and Dylan Jones to freaking mushroom stamp you guys.
Jeez. All right. Well.
Actually, my true favorite is Jalen Williams. I love Jalen Williams.
Yeah, no, I like the Jalen Williams there for sure. And Sam, you like to criticize the way I say things. You just called him Jay Lynn.
Yeah, there you go. Give revenge.
Jaylin. Get it right, Sam.
Yeah, let him know.
Gotta let him know, Tony.
I like that. That was a good pullback from him making fun of you. That was good timing.
Yep, got to get it done. That's how you do it. I'm a professional, Tony. Let's get to the Spurs and the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings, they obviously have been a team that we've been loading up on because Domantas Sabonis has been out and Jonas Valanciunas has been chalk, and he still has a 40 projection, but he's at 6.9K, and he's playing the San Antonio Spurs. And honestly, Tony, I still think he's in play, as crazy as it sounds, at 6.9K. Good matchup, obviously. Zach LaVine, 8-2. De'Aaron Fox, revenge game. This is the first revenge game. And, they shipped him out of town, Tony, because they said, hey, you are not the guy anymore, right? Like, I do like this spot for De'Aaron Fox. You talked about there not being a lot of studs. 8.4K De'Aaron Fox, that is definitely something I am interested in on this slate. I do think I struggle to play these Keldon Johnsons, right? The Jeremy Socans. This is the wrong slate to dive into those plays. We have just too good of values, especially when you can dive in and just play Adam Flagler on this slate. So overall, though, I like De'Aaron Fox. I like Valanciunas. You can take stabs on the DeMar DeRozans and such. But, Tony, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's another spot that I struggle with a little bit just because the Spurs are another team that I just don't see why they would push the issue with Wemby out the rest of the year. You just got Fox in the deal, obviously, not too long ago. But you look at some of these minutes and just the points that they're giving up and stuff, I just don't see it. Believe me, I tried hard to talk myself into Fox on this slate. Going back to Sacramento, Wemby even traveled with the team just to support Fox. So it's a little bit of a actual revenge spot here. But, man, I just don't see why the Spurs would push the issue. And I'm definitely not playing any of the bench guys. It's Fox or nothing for me for the Spurs side. And he does fit the build pretty good, Fox. But, man, I just don't see the upside. It's one of the hard parts of this slate. You just see a lot of this stuff, and they don't stick off the page at the top. But clear revenge spot. And then Sacramento, I mean, DeMar DeRozan is going to be popular. I don't see it. I watched him the other night make every freaking shot on the Nuggets. Literally made every single shot, it felt like. Even threes were going in. And he still only had 50. Like, he shot the ball 32 freaking times and had 50 fantasy points. He's not going to shoot the ball that many times I just don't see it. DeRozan is another. I know I'm shitting on a lot of chalk plays today, but that's the way the slate goes. I don't like DeRozan at all. His price is fine, and it's similar to Barnes. Like, some of these guys are going to be high owned, and maybe people just don't play Jokic again. Like, maybe they just get off that build and play 3 of these like 7, 8K guys and do that, because Jokic always ends up lower owned than I think he's going to be. But I would play LaVine over DeRozan at a lower ownership. Granted, not much. I guess their ownerships are pretty similar. But I don't love it. What place is Sacramento in? We always play this game. I have no idea where. If I had to guess, because they traded Fox, where would I guess? Because you always like to make fun of me. They got to be out like 10th by the Mavs or something, 10th, 11th?
The Kings or the Spurs? Which one?
The Kings. I mean, I'm assuming the Spurs got to be towards the bottom.
The Kings are the 9 seed, 1 game ahead of the Mavericks. So you did pretty good. The Spurs are they're third to last in the West now. They just fell behind Portland, obviously with the Wemby stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean the Spurs are gonna finish third to the bottom for sure, because it's got to be the Pelicans and the Jazz. They have to be the 2 worst, so they're gonna finish the 3rd worst.
Yeah, it's not easy to catch them anyway. I'll pull it up again one more time. It's definitely not easy to catch them because I think they just have such a it's. The Spurs are 10 games ahead of the Pelicans, so it's not going to happen, obviously. But
so Mike Guido said Jalen Williams is out, Sam.
Yeah, let Sam know that. We did get news that who is out for the year, Tony? Oliver Maxence Prosper. I am so sick of that guy popping in projections. I wish you a very speedy recovery, Omax, but I'm glad we don't have to worry about him the rest of the year. But yeah, Brian, Brian, you are right. We got lots of cheap centers to play for sure here. Tony, did you touch much on Valanciunas? I know you touched on the DeRozan stuff.
Man, I can't pay $7K for Valanciunas. I get it. I do think he could pay it off too. I'm not even to the point I'm going to make fun of it. It's more. I mean, I'm playing Jokic. Let's face it. I'm playing Jokic the way this slate sets up. That's one center spot. There's just too many center plays for me to play him. But I'm not making fun of it because I do think he could easily get there. I can't personally pay $7K for Valanciunas in the year 2025. I just can't do it.
Yeah, not only that, like when you look at the Kings, Tony, today, like one thing to call out, like they have ownership, right? Like
a lot of ownership.
Yeah, like, and I get it, but like if you want to like.
I will say one thing though, just because you're going into it, it's a late game and you got 3 late games. If somehow Jokic got ruled out, I would definitely pivot onto like a Joval plus Levine, or I would get on to the Sacramento if Jokic somehow got ruled out.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like, because you have Valanciunas at center, or another thing you could do is like you could go to Cat and then maybe you upgrade another guy and you have.
Well, that's why I think I would go to Val though, because of Cat. Like everyone's just going to go to Cat if Jokic gets ruled. So I was going to pivot the other way and go with Val.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do that, but yeah,
it is crazy to see the ownership on the Kings though today, because like
I don't get it. Part of it is the Spurs don't play defense, but still, like I don't get it. The prices aren't that great.
Yeah, they have ceilings. I mean, I'll just say this. Every single day, I basically, if I get any ownership on the Kings, I either get none or I get like 4 or 5%. And like today, like I'm sure I'll get a bunch, but like I don't want 40% Zach LaVine to be overweight. You know what I mean? Like this is not a play I'm dying to get overweight on. So, yeah, let's get to the next game up though. Phoenix Suns, Denver Nuggets. Obviously, we got the Jokic stuff. He's questionable along with Aaron Gordon. Man, if these guys miss, I mean, one of my best slates this year was when the Nuggets were missing a bunch of their guys, and I played the Julian Strothers, the Zeke Nananjis, right? And
that was when Jokic was still in, though, right?
Yeah, but like it was.
That's what you want. The dream is Jokic in and everyone else out. That's the dream.
Well, yeah, that was great because it propped up all those other guys. But I do think if Jokic sits, man, there's the one thing I will call out, Tony, is this slate starts at 7 Eastern. These games, they're all at 10 o'clock Eastern, and there's 3 of them, right? The issue I had with last night's slate that I discussed on this show was we don't have pivots if you get the Knicks stuff wrong, and I was okay with taking the gamble, and I didn't care. Here, I got pivots, right? If the Jokic stuff doesn't go your way, you can go to a Valanciunas. Like, if I told you, Tony, and I know it's not easy to do, but if I told you faded all of the early games, which would be difficult to pull off, I get it, or maybe only played a couple early guys, there's enough good plays later on, especially if the news hits right, to have a really good team.
And you could still fall into like the total stones if certain stuff, like if say Jokic does get ruled out, Jamal Murray becomes just like an insane good play. Porter, like these other plays become great plays too. And you're just so different.
You played DeMar.
Ignore it. You're just so different. Because let's face it, a lot of the 3K guys are going to do well, but a lot of them are going to be awful too. There's a lot of terrible plays out there that could bust.
Yeah, you got Cat, right? You got James Harden later. You have De'Aaron Fox, who we talked about. Like, you have guys you can get to. So, and let's say you built the team and you said, hey, I clearly think Jalen Williams is a great play, and I think Orlando Robinson is the best Raptors play. And that's the only 2 guys you played. Man, you could make some
leave that flexibility.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting route to go if you wanted to on this slate.
I think it's reasonable too, honestly, to play maybe 2 Toronto guys, play maybe 1 OKC guy, and then leave 4, 5, 6 spots for the night games.
Yeah, so we'll see.
It's going to be tough to totally fade all that early value, but if you hit lucky and get the 2 or 3 that do good, and you got all the flexibility late, I mean, you're in good shape.
Correct. And these are the things I like to capitalize. I like the late news. I like being able to swap.
Especially Friday night. A lot of people aren't going to be sitting there paying attention.
Yep. I will be paying attention. That's a good thing. And I will be if I do go out, I won't be too far away. I'm staying pretty close by so I can come back to my computer and
I mean, you brought the laptop to church. You're never far off if the laptop's with you in church.
That is fair. My friends do know. I mean, I was at Hooters making the swaps, right? I'll make the swaps anywhere, so I don't really care.
Hooters is not near as impressive as, I mean, you should be doing that at Hooters. The church one's impressive.
That's true.
Hooters, that's normal procedure just to have the laptop out in Hooters.
That is fair. By the way, Boucher is officially out, so add the Raptors to becoming even better plays on this slate. All right. Jokic, Tony, he's been in his core for the past week. He never takes him out of his core.
Past year.
Yeah, the whole year. He always has him in his core at Run Pure Sports for obvious reasons. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, there are definitely spends you can get to. We need this news, though. That's going to be super important. I know Bradley Beal's like a mid-tier option that's been pretty good. Maybe it's the wrong slate for it, but he's definitely shown some upside lately with getting the minutes. I do think the Suns are getting a little crowded right now, so I'm not excited about the Suns side as much. I'm really excited about Jokic and wondering if this value hits right and we can make adjustments. So, Tony, talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, one good thing, though, on the Phoenix side is, again, we just don't have stars. So, I don't know if I've played Phoenix stars almost all year, but I think this is a slate Kevin Durant or Booker could work. And especially if Gordon's out. Gordon's a guy that can guard Durant at least a little bit, not shut him down. But you get him out of there, I think Durant is in a pretty good spot, honestly, against this roster. I think he can do some things, and Booker too. I like Durant better than Booker, but both of them are in play on a slate with no stars. So I like that. I can't do Beal, but I like the 2 stars. And then Denver, I mean, obviously Jokic and these other guys are – I mean, Christian Brown's been amazing. It's probably not the slate for him. Porter's been solid at times. Probably not for him. But you just got to wait for the news. And I think it's, though – so another roster would be to play all early value to where you can fit 2 or 3 late studs, and you could put, just say you put Jokic, Cat, Durant. You got 3 studs late. What is that? What does that leave you if you did do that? Jokic, Cat, Durant. Leaves you with 3780 for your last 5 spot, which is on this slate extremely easy to fill that out.
When Adam Flagler's a core play, yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, baby.
By the way, we did get some. I think this news matters a lot. I don't know if projections have this baked in, but Caleb Martin is limited to 15 minutes tonight for the Mavericks. So
projections got it baked. At least the ones I'm looking at.
Do they? Okay, I didn't know if they did have that baked in. I definitely.
All those other guys are project. Even Brandon Williams was projected way more, and
yeah. Okay, I just wanted to double check that.
He's pretty much only projected 16 across the board. So
I see Saber has 21 right now. So
it got updated since I saw. It'll probably go back down then, I assume, because on my screen right now for Saber it still says 16, but I haven't refreshed it.
Gotcha. That makes some sense.
I bet it goes back down though, with limited minutes.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense there. All right, Tony. Do you have much else to say about the Nuggets game? Like I said, I'm not super.
It's a pretty clear-cut game for me with just stars, unless Jokic gets ruled out, and then I think those guys can be more in play like Jamal. I think Jamal's a great play. Either way, really. I think Jamal's in play, but just stars for me in this game. I don't really see a reason to go anywhere else.
For sure. Jay Kearney doesn't want to save Hooters. He's not a fan. He must be a Phoenix Suns fan with Devin Booker. So hey, we're trying to save the small businesses out here, Mr. Kearney. Let's get to the final game of the slate, and it's a good one for sure. Let's talk about James Harden, 9.8K, pretty good projection. See him around 51. He's the system. He's been great this year. I think it's a good matchup too. It's not like the Knicks play any defense. Will the game stay close? Hopefully the Knicks can keep it closer. 6-point underdogs here. Karl Anthony Towns, 9.9K. I love this spot for him. I liked him yesterday. I don't know how did he end up yesterday, Tony? Did he end up doing well? I think I missed it. He was my play of the day, and he did not do good. So I need
42 minutes though.
Yeah, I need to stop it.
Yeah, I watched that game pretty close because it was the late game. He just deferred the entire fourth quarter. Like
Really?
I don't remember him shooting. I don't think he shot the ball.
Well, like the Lakers, I know they've been good against centers, and I've been kind of like, it was like kind of like my last stand. I was like, okay, I'll give it one last shot. Like Cat maybe could pull it off. And
the Lakers have just been like good.
No, I know.
That's what happens when you just get Luka handed to you, but still.
I thought the opportunity of having like a 3% Karl Anthony Towns with OG Anunoby possibly getting ruled out was way too good to pass up on. So I was like, I don't really care. I'm doing it. But 9.9K, we know with Brunson out, he's obviously going to be a good play. He's projected for about 50 DK points. You got Zubac. I mean, I always like him. I feel like every slate. Maybe it's the wrong slate for him, but it's 7.7K. They're going to need his size. Of course, Josh Hart, 8.1K. Listen, these Knicks, they got price tags on them. It's not like they're dirt cheap. The real guy we got to talk about on the Knicks side of the ball, it's the guards. And which guard is it going to be? I don't know which one starts. I don't know which one closes. But Miles McBride, 4.2K, I assume he is the starter. That's my assumption. Could it be Campaign at 3.1K? Would not completely surprise me. And it wouldn't surprise me if one starts and the other one closes, depending on how they're playing. But Payne's 3.1K, McBride is 4.2K. We have some value with these Knicks. We got good options at spends as well. And, of course, on the Clipper side, you talked about Harden. I talked about Harden. Obviously, good plays. I know Bogdanovich has played a little bit better, but I'll tell you this. Wrong slate to play Bogdanovich, so don't even take that chance on that. Tony, what's your thoughts on the Knicks, though, and the Clippers?
Yeah, it's definitely the guards plus Cat from the Knicks. Deuce McBride at 4,200 has to be one of the better plays. And then Campaign, man, my issue with Campaign is he just doesn't feel like a guy that Thibs is ever going to give extended run to. Like you said, he likes defense. Campaign isn't going to defend. I think it's Deuce McBride for sure. But the flip side to that is Campaign's 3,100. He's guaranteed to get a decent amount of run. And he's another 3K guy that you just have to consider. Like, there's no way around it. And he's late, so there's not really going to be pivots. So Steve says Payne starting. I think Deuce McBride for sure still starts, but they don't have a ton of guards. I mean, you look at the roster. I mean, you don't have a lot of ball handling. Hart's not really a point guard. OG definitely not. McHale definitely not. They just don't have guards. So Campaign could start, but either way, I think it's Deuce McBride, Campaign, Cat, and then the Clippers side, they're kind of at full strength for the most they've been too, with Harden, Kawhi, and Zubac in there. It's a little bit tougher, but I mean, Harden, you have to consider him on this slate, right? We just have to throw him in that stud bucket. And for me, I don't know if I'll get there to him, but if somehow like Jokic got ruled out or something, it opens up a lot more stuff in these late games. So for me, I mean, I'm never playing Kawhi. I just can't go there. Zubac, though, I'm with you. I always like Zubac. Big Zoo. I kind of put him in that category with Big Valanciunas, where I think I'll like him more if Yoke's out, but still, I like it. The late studs for sure, though. I don't see as much value late. I think value early in the night, studs late in the night is my clear approach.
Yeah, and obviously if you do that approach too, it helps you adjust a little bit more when you're making your teams. Tony, so that's the slate. We've been on for over an hour here. One last question I'll ask you about this. Do you think Miles McBride gets ownership? I really like him, and I'm wondering if I see him at 13%. I'm wondering if he actually gets owned or these other early guards. Like, dude, I was just looking at it. There are so many cheap guards, like in the 3K and 4K range. I'm kind of thinking McBride just gets completely under-owned here.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough because his projection's good, but there's so many cheap guys that he can't really, and you don't know for sure he's starting. So, I mean, I agree with you. He's definitely going to be higher than whatever you said, 12 or 15. He's definitely going to be higher than that, but I don't think he's going to get to like 30, which I think he's one of the best plays too. He has to be. Yeah,
so much I was thinking of making my play of the day. That's why I was asking, because I was like, I don't know. I think everyone's playing these early guys. I don't know. I'm trying to think it through. Play of the day is really hard to give out. That's why I'm trying to like think through because you don't want to get off the board with like a 5% guy today, like unless it's a stud
You just
or
don't
something.
need to, yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
you don't
it's
need
Flagler.
to.
You can do it if it's Flagler.
Flagler. I will say if he starts, Tony, you'll get all your flowers in the Discord.
Thank you.
Know, I will bow down. You know, I'll be glazing you. You'll
like
be
a mini SGA.
mini SGA. I can't. All right, Tony. I guess it's time for play of the day. I'm assuming you're going to give out Adam Flagler, but what's your thoughts? Who's your play of the day?
I'm actually going to go with Jalen Williams with a Y, baby. Jalen Williams with a Y. I love the price. The only hard part at all for me with this is I always want to for sure have the guy in my lineup. I'm just not 100% sure because I'm going to play Jokic. So it's going to sound bad if he's not in my team. I apologize. I love him. It's just roster construction. I might have to play two centers or like one of those two centers. So he's my play of the day, though. I love him.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think through roster construction, right? Because, like, Tony, I like James Harden. We just talked about him. I was considering giving him out or Miles McBride. My problem is there's so many cheap guards. I don't know how I'm going to get to these guys. So I'm trying to find –
Deuce a great play of the day.
Right,
Go into the weekend with Deuce Bigelow.
Yeah, I'll go with Deuce. That's the guy I was leaning that with. That's why I said
That's a
that.
safe pick, but it's got upside, too. Like, that's a perfect play of the day.
All right, yeah, we'll go with Deuce. I was trying to find a forward just because I think you're going to need like spend up forwards today. Thinking through the slate a little bit more, but we'll go with Deuce McBride. So I am going to be overweight on him, right? That's something when I build out my teams. Even when I get news that come in, even when Adam Flagler starts, Tony, I'm going to say, hey, I am not getting rid of my Deuce McBride ownership. I'm going to keep him in on that. That way I get him in my lineups later on, and it does not take him out of my lineup. But we got Deuce McBride is my play of the day. Tony's is Jalen Williams. Listen, you got all the studs in the world to play. Great night slate too, Tony. If you want to get in the night slate, let's say, plan just popped up right now. Hey, go do those plans and then come back at 10 o'clock for the night slate. I'm sure we'll have cores in the Discord and we'll have people answering your questions in the chat. I know I'll be around most of the night. So if you got any questions on the slate, I'll be here. I'll be going through it. I'll be swapping all night long, but that is going to wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show. For me, Mangone, and Big T. We'll see you guys later.